Retargeting campaigns. Best practices for lead generation success. Retargeting fixes the leaky bucket problem in B2B. Most B2B sites lose the vast majority of their hard-earned traffic, and it's not because the product is bad, it's because buyers aren't ready to act the first time they show up. Roughly 2% of website visitors convert on their first visit, which means you're paying to acquire attention and then letting almost all of it leave without a conversation. Retargeting campaigns are the simplest way to re-engage that demand and bring it back when timing and urgency improve. In a B2B funnel, conversion rarely happens in one session because the buying committee needs time to research, compare, and align internally. Retargeting keeps you present across that decision window, so your brand becomes the familiar option when the prospect finally moves from curiosity to evaluation. Done well, it's not just more ads, it's structured follow-up for digital intent. At SalesHive, we treat retargeting as a bridge between marketing engagement and sales execution. When your ads reinforce your positioning and your outbound sales agency motion follows up with context, you stop relying on luck and start manufacturing pipeline. The goal is straightforward: turn anonymous visits and ad clicks into qualified conversations your team can close. Why retargeting outperforms cold display for lead generation. Retargeting typically earns attention because it targets people who already showed interest, and that advantage shows up in the numbers. Retargeting ads average around a 0.7% click-through rate and are often reported as 2 to 3 times more likely to be clicked than standard display. That means you're paying for impressions in front of warmer buyers, not strangers who have never heard of you. Conversion performance is where it becomes a true lead gen lever. Some studies show conversion rates can increase by up to 147% with retargeting, and that retargeted visitors can be around 70% more likely to convert than similar visitors who never see follow-up ads. For B2B teams, that compounding effect reduces cost per opportunity, not just cost per click. If you want a simple way to explain this internally, compare baseline display to retargeting as 2 different acquisition costs for attention. Retargeting commonly shows about 2.84% conversion rates versus roughly 0.07% for general display, which is why marketers also report ROI lifts up to 200% in aggregated datasets. When your CFO asks why you're adding spend, you can answer with efficiency, not vibes. Build intent tiers, not one giant audience. The fastest way to waste budget is lumping everyone into a single all-site visitors retargeting pool. A casual blog reader and a prospect who revisited pricing 3 times are not the same buyer, and they shouldn't see the same message. We recommend structuring audiences into 3 intent tiers: high, mid, and low, so your spend and creative match buyer readiness. High-intent segments typically include visits to pricing, demo, comparison, and ROI pages, plus repeat visits within a short window. Mid-funnel segments come from case studies, solution pages, webinars, and downloads where the buyer is actively evaluating approaches. Low-intent segments are broad: blog traffic, homepage visits, and light engagement that signals awareness but not urgency. Once you have tiers, your next lever is time. Membership windows should match sales velocity: shorter for high intent, often 7 to 14 days, medium for mid-funnel, around 30 days, and longer for low intent, 60 to 90 days if your category requires repeat exposure. This structure also makes your SDR agency motion smarter because your reps can prioritize outreach based on which tier an account is in today. Implementation that actually works: tracking, routing, and CRM alignment. Before you scale, Fix the plumbing. Confirm your platform tags, LinkedIn, Google, and Meta where relevant, fire consistently across key pages, and make sure you're tracking events that map to revenue outcomes, not vanity clicks. If you can't reliably distinguish a pricing page visitor from a blog reader, you can't segment, personalize, or measure pipeline impact. Next, make retargeting data actionable for sales. Pipe high-intent page views and retargeting engagement, impressions, clicks, repeat visits, into your CRM so your team can build priority queues for the last 7 to 14 days of activity. This is where retargeting stops being marketing only and becomes a practical input to cold email agency sequences, calling tasks, and account-based follow-up. Finally, align the offer with the stage and decide who owns the next step. Early-stage audiences should see value-first assets, benchmarks, checklists, short explainers, while high-intent audiences can be pushed to a short consultation. When SalesHive runs integrated programs, we coordinate retargeting with our sales outsourcing workflows, so an account that clicks an ad doesn't just get another impression, it gets a timely, relevant touch from an outsourced sales team that can qualify and book the meeting. Retargeting works best when it's treated as follow-up you can measure, not just ads you can buy. Best practices: creative rotation, channel fit, and stage-specific offers. Creative is a lever, not an afterthought. Retargeting often underperforms because teams run the same static banners for months, burning out the audience and training buyers to ignore the message. Rotate concepts every 4 to 6 weeks, test different hooks, problem, outcome, social proof, and align the call to action with what the prospect already did. Choose channels based on where your ICP actually spends time, not where your team is most comfortable. LinkedIn is typically strong for B2B website retargeting and mid to bottom funnel messaging, while Google Display and YouTube expand affordable reach and keep frequency steady. Meta can work surprisingly well for B2B when audiences are narrow and creative is sharp, especially for event, content, and webinar remarketing. Use real-world lift as your internal proof point. LinkedIn retargeting case studies show examples like Adobe driving a 10% increase in lead generation and Hootsuite driving a 20% increase in free trial signups by layering retargeting on top of acquisition. The pattern is consistent. Retargeting doesn't replace demand gen, it monetizes it by re-engaging people who already raised their hand once. Common mistakes that quietly destroy performance. The most common failure mode is treating everyone the same. A single generic audience forces you into generic creative, which either oversells to cold visitors or undersells to hot ones. The fix is simple: segment by intent, keep audiences mutually exclusive, and tailor messaging so high-intent prospects see proof and risk reversal, while low-intent prospects get education. Another expensive mistake is optimizing for form fills instead of pipeline. When you chase low-friction leads, you flood SDRs with contacts that never book meetings, and sales quickly stops trusting marketing. The better path is to track meetings booked, opportunities created, and revenue by audience and offer. Then, route the highest intent signals into your cold calling services and outbound sequences immediately. Finally, frequency burn is real, especially in smaller B2B audiences. If the same buyer sees the same creative dozens of times, performance falls and brand sentiment can take a hit. Use frequency caps, shorten membership windows for low-intent visitors, and refresh creative as soon as CTR and conversion rate start to plateau. Optimization plays, mobile advantage, sales prioritization, and measurement. Mobile retargeting is often an underused efficiency lever for B2B teams. Benchmarks show mobile retargeting can drive about 60% higher engagement and roughly 30% lower CPC than desktop, which matters when your audience includes busy executives scrolling between meetings. If you're running retargeting but ignoring mobile placements, you're usually paying more for the same attention. Treat retargeting engagement as a ranking signal for outbound. When an account re-engages, clicks an ad, revisits a pricing page, or downloads an asset, that account should jump the queue for outreach. This is where a cold calling agency or sales development agency can be especially effective. You're still cold calling, but with warm context that improves connect rates, personalization, and meeting conversion. Measurement should follow the buyer journey all the way to pipeline. Use UTMs and CRM campaign attribution so you can answer which audience tier, channel, and offer produces meetings and opportunities, not just clicks. If one retargeting segment drives cheap leads but zero opportunities, kill it. If another drives fewer leads but higher close rates, fund it aggressively. Next steps. A practical retargeting plan that supports outbound. Retargeting is still effective, but the modern approach is more privacy-aware and more operationally connected. As cookie restrictions tighten, first-party data becomes the center of gravity. Website events, consented lists, CRM audiences, and platform-native identifiers. The teams that win are the ones that invest early in clean tracking and then build repeatable plays around it. If you want a straightforward rollout, start small and structured. Build 3 intent tiers, deploy stage-matched offers, and set clear rules for creative refresh and frequency caps. Many B2B teams allocate 15 to 30% of paid budget to retargeting as a starting point, then scale only after they can show opportunity creation and revenue impact. The final step is connecting the dots between ads and human follow-up. When retargeting engagement automatically informs SDR prioritization, your outreach becomes more relevant and your time to meeting drops, especially when supported by an outsourced sales team that can execute consistently. That's the model we build at SalesHive. Retargeting warms the account, and our B2B cold calling services and outbound email execution convert that intent into booked conversations.